Facebook launching an aggressive new campaign to tell the world how it's fighting fake news and how its 2 billion users can spot it. The social network has also been hiring new employees by the thousands and touting AI as a weapon to flag offending content. We caught up with Facebook's chief AI scientist at Bloomberg Sooner Than You Think Summit in Paris, who talked about how.
AI produces the bad content, but AI also has part of the solution of detecting when something is bad. And then people also kind of adapt. You know, we kind of quickly learn to kind of deal with information that's not entirely reliable.
Here now with more, we are joined by Tessa Lyons, Facebook Newsfeed Product Manager from Stanford, California, to talk about what else Facebook is doing to fight this fight. So Tessa, you guys are launching a massive new initiative today, basically a sort of fake news literacy campaign, and you have personally been on the front lines of this. So I'd love it if you could start by giving us an idea of the scale of the fake news problem and how that has changed over the last couple of years, especially from your point of view.
Well, Emily, thank you so much for having me. We've been working hard to stop the spread of false news. And given the scale, as you mentioned, we've been using both technology and human review. And I'd love to talk with you more about those actions. What we're sharing today are updates on our efforts to communicate more openly about our actions and to be held accountable for the progress that we're making. So specifically, we're sharing a short film that gives an inside look at the teams fighting false news on Facebook, the work that we do to disrupt financial incentives, to fight fake accounts, and to reduce the overall spread of this type of content. And we're also sharing that we're going to be working with academics in order to provide them with data to help all of us better understand and measure the volume and effects of misinformation and the impact of our efforts to fight it.
You're launching a new short film called Facing Facts, which profiles you and other people at Facebook who are working on this. This is in addition to a TV ad campaign, a print ad campaign. What about the people out there who say this is just PR spin?
Well, what I would say is that we're all deeply committed to fighting false news on Facebook. We recognize that there's a fake news problem, and we recognize that it's not what people want when they come to Facebook. So we're committed, based on the feedback from our community, to actually improve this problem. In order to be held accountable, we need to do more to help academics access the data so that we can all measure the current volume and effects of misinformation and the trends in those over time so that we can prove that our efforts are actually having an effect and helping us to fight this problem and to contain the spread of false news on Facebook.
So we talk a lot about fake news, but this sort of fully bogus fake stuff isn't necessarily the biggest problem. Actually, a bigger concern might be sort of hyper-partisan news that presents facts in a sort of misleading way and with a political agenda. What are you doing about that?
You're absolutely right that when we say misinformation or fake news, we're all referring to a lot of different problems. And so it's important for us to break them down in order to fight them most effectively. We've actually seen that the majority of false news on Facebook is financially motivated. And so one of the main things that we're doing is working to disrupt those financial incentives. Now, that might look like truly fake facts, but that can also look like partisan or misleading content. By going after those financial incentives, we can reduce the spread of a broad swath of that content. But more broadly, we know there's also information that people are sharing that might not be financially motivated, but might be fake or misleading in other ways. And so one of the things that we're doing is working with fact checkers in order to provide people with more context about the stories that they're seeing, and in some cases to reduce the spread of those stories by showing them lower in people's newsfeed.
So fact checkers are one thing. Others have suggested, why doesn't Facebook just hire its own journalists? And it's an idea that Facebook has been sort of allergic to. But why not hire your own journalists who could make some of these decisions?
Emily, we have 2 billion people around the world using Facebook in order to connect with friends, family, and the things that they care about. What we're committed to doing is ensuring that when people come to Facebook, they have the experience that they expect, that it's authentic, that it's high quality, and that it's credible information. In order to best do that, we need a variety of tools. We need to remove fake accounts. In the first quarter of this year alone, we removed 583 million fake accounts who are often involved in seeding and spreading misinformation and other types of low-quality content. content. We also need to go after the financial incentives. Third, we need to reduce the spread of false or misleading content by showing those stories lower in newsfeed. And then fourth, we need to give people more information. Across the board, we need to use both technology and human review. But the problem isn't so much about the individuals who are providing or weighing in on some of this content. It's really how we can scale this effort in order to go after the full breadth of this challenge and fight it most effectively around the world.
And once a piece of news is, or fake news is flagged, fact-checked, put out, what do you do to make sure it doesn't get recycled in other ways and appear elsewhere?
It's a great question. So to use one example, if we have an article that has been rated as false by one of the fact checkers that we partner with, we reduce the spread of that individual article in newsfeed. But we also use machine learning in order to identify duplicates of those articles or ways in which that same content might be reappearing from other domains or from other pages. Because we know that in many cases, the bad actors behind this content aren't just sharing one example of it, they're trying to create duplicates in order to further achieve their financial incentives or whatever their objectives might be. And I think what's really important about this point is that we have to recognize that the fight against fake news is an adversarial fight, that there are people who are highly motivated, whether those motivations are financial or otherwise, to continue to spread this type of information and to profit from it in whatever way that might be. So we need to ensure that our systems are staying ahead of their adaptations and anticipating the next wave of this fight.
So on that note, obviously, Russia's efforts to undermine American democracy using Facebook are continuing. Is it actually possible to stop this problem, to stop disinformation on Facebook? Or is it a losing battle?
It's possible, absolutely, for us to do a much better job of ensuring that the information that people see on Facebook is authentic and high quality. Now, the broader conversation around misleading information is something that's been around long before social media and will continue to be a challenge. So we need to ensure that we're doing everything that we can to give people information so that they can also make informed decisions, which is why one of the things that we're sharing today is a broader effort that we have to help people identify potentially false or misleading information by giving them tips for trends that they can spot. And this is part of a broader effort we have to be more transparent with people about the information that they're seeing on Facebook, the people behind that information, and the steps that they can take to control the information that they see in their own personal newsfeed.
Now, there are reports that engagement is down across the board on Facebook as a result of the changes you've been making to newsfeed. And of the top couple dozen news sites or so, all of them are seeing decreased engagement. Is that the case?
Well, I want to take one step back and just say that Mark was really clear earlier this year that our fight to protect Facebook is a top priority, and that at times that will come requiring trade-offs in other parts of our business, whether that's trade-offs of people who are focused on the integrity problems or investments that we need to make. But regardless of those trade-offs, we're committed. Now, to your question about the trends that we're seeing, we've announced a number of changes about newsfeed over the course of the last several months, and one of those changes was that we are reprioritizing friends and family content coming first. That has caused pages across the political spectrum of news, of other varieties, to see changes to their own traffic. But what we're remaining committed to is ensuring that the public content people do see is authentic, high quality, and informative. And so we've announced a number of changes to both reduce the spread of bad content like clickbait and sensationalism and false news, and also promote broadly trusted sources. But this is going to be an ongoing effort, and we'll continue to have more to share as we improve our efforts.
Now, Facebook is still trying to figure out how news publishers fit into this whole transparency initiatives. And initially, the plan was to have, political ads on other news sites be put into this public database that would then need to be verified, essentially. But there was a lot of criticism of this, and now Facebook is rethinking this plan. Any progress towards a clear solution?
I think what this reflects is that across the board, we're trying to take steps to be more transparent with people and to give them more information. We're also working closely with governments around the world and with other civil society stakeholders in order to understand how best to do that. We're going to continue to learn and to evolve and to ensure that at the end of the day, we remain committed to giving people that open, transparent information and the controls that need to come with it.
Mark Zuckerberg testified before EU lawmakers yesterday, and some came away feeling like he did not answer their questions. You know, what do you think, Mark Zuckerberg, you know, the leader of your company, does he have a greater responsibility to give more straight answers and answer the questions that people seem to continue to have?
We all have a responsibility, Mark and all of us who work on these problems, to be more open and transparent with people and to answer their questions directly. We've made a lot of progress in doing so, but we certainly have more work to do. And if there's places where we're falling down, I expect that people will hold us accountable, and we want to be held accountable for being more open and honest about those answers.